In this video, I want to discuss Mercedes Mone, aka Sasha Banks. So, a lot of people, a lot of wrestling fans, critics, people have been saying that they feel that her, from her time in AEW so far, that it's been quite a bit of a letdown. A lot of that maybe just comes to they just haven't given her much good that. The material hasn't been that good, the story hasn't been, all that good either. And with that, I mean, you've got someone here who's had, who had quite a big name in the other company, a different name. Goes out saying we all know who she is. But I think, I think a lot of it, I personally don't put the whole blame on AEW, on Tony Khan. I think a lot of this does come down to Mercedes Mone, Sasha Banks, whatever you want to call her. That she's probably her biggest fan, and I think that has been pretty evident that from things that's happened in the other company and how she left there, that she's got a very high opinion of herself. Which is fine, you need that confidence, that ego, that healthy ego. But the problem with the Mercedes Mone, how she's been used is that they're having her in this feud with this woman Willow Nightingale. Mercedes has been portrayed. She is a babyface, right? She's the good girl. So is Willow Nightingale. So I don't think just having a babyface match coming in is not a great way of making an impact, right? I think it was the same problem with CM Punk, just having that babyface match, Darby Allin, when he came in, and everybody knew that he was going to beat him at the pay-per-view. I think it's I think the AEW would be incredibly stupid for Mercedes Mone to lose her debut match, her first ever match in AEW, right? So I highly doubt she's going to lose at the pay-per-view tonight. But I don't fully put the blame on AEW for the presentation. I think a lot of it just comes down to that people have been kind of fooled into thinking that she was this big deal, but she never really was. A lot of that in wrestling with in this social media era is that people can, in wrestling, it's been even before that. Wrestlers are self-promoters, right? They're workers. And they're going to do everything in their power to try and get themselves over. But it's one thing trying to get yourself over and you get that feedback from the audience, right? You get that positive feedback. But then it's like, when you're creating that perception, though, that you're a bigger deal than what you already are, I think in the end you're eventually going to get kind of found out, and there's a lot of people that do that. They make themselves out to be a bigger deal than what they are, and it's worked out for them in their career. I think that's what the Young Bucks did, and it worked out for them pretty damn well. Pretty evident that in the position that they're in. But a lot of people get fooled into thinking that these people that are these huge stars, but they're not that big of a deal, really, And, you get people that buy into this idea that, well, Ospreay is a huge star, but it's more that he's over with, that internet, the niche internet crowd, right? And I think kind of like she's been found out, and, a lot of people have said that, sometimes her attitude isn't always the best. There's been, there's the whole stories about her, and, she wasn't happy when they had to drop the belts, her and Bayley, to the Iconics at WrestleMania, and then walking out. They were her and Naomi were the champions, and then they walked out. But in both of those cases, it was Sasha Banks who was there. She was the problem. So I generally don't fully put the whole blame on AEW for this. I don't. I just think, she's kind of getting exposed now. She's exposed herself, or they've exposed her. You could say that, AEW have. But this when you've got a guy like Okada there making what, $4 million a year, right? I mean, she must be still making pretty good money. I mean, it's got to be what, close to $1 million a year. I mean, it's madness, right? The kind of money that they're paying the talent. But I'm just reading through some stuff, though, that she was saying, you know, she's blaming people on the internet for this perceived feud with AEW and WWE. She was saying that, quote, I feel like there should be no competition when it's between companies. Well, I mean, why not, though? I mean, when you think back to the Monday Night Wars, that was a straight-up competition with WWE and WWF at the time and WCW, right? And that brought out the best in each company. And in the end, you could say it brought out the absolute best in WWF, and WCW couldn't keep up. But those times, those moments, the entertainment back then, and the overall quality of the product, I mean, I take that stuff over any of the shit that we get from AEW, you know, any day of the week, you know, when they just have, you know, their new champion Swerve Strickland come out first match, no promo, nothing. I mean, fans are catching on that this stuff, it just isn't working, you know what I mean? But she's going on and saying about the internet, about, you know, people are so in their phones, you know, going in the internet and bragging, complaining, and they're not actually living in the real world. Well, she's got a point there. I'm not doubting that. When they come into the real world and they actually go to wrestling shows, enjoy things with wrestling fans, they know this is all just so much fun. People like to drag things and be mean on the internet just to be mean on the internet. Yeah, you get a lot of trolls out there that will say things with malicious intent. When they come to the shows, it's a whole different feeling. Yeah, you could say when you actually go to a show, you get caught up in the moment, you enjoy yourself. But I think overall, though, if you're a real fan, you're still going to be critical of things, because it's like if you have high standards, you know, and you know, every fan, people, if you pay your ticket, you know, you have a right to your opinion. You know, you want to see the absolute best, and in this day and age, it's just, you know, that they can package someone, they can make it seem like it's this big deal, but in the end, you know, is there much there? Is there much substance? But again, a lot of it has to come down to, I think, how she's been booked, because yeah, this whole thing with her having a match, a big feud with Willow Nightingale, does anyone really care? It's like they had a thing, didn't they, wrestle in Japan, that U Japan promotion, but again, the casual fans don't care about that U Japan stuff, so it's like, yeah, it just doesn't resonate with the casual fans. But probably Tony Khan he could care less about the casual fans, right? Other stuff though, so they're talking about her working relationship with her promo writer. So she's got her own promo writer that's in AEW now, Jennifer Pepperman. She said not to say bad things about WWE, but to have writers before who just did not hear my voice, had no idea how to write for my voice, was so hard for many, many years, and I never really got to have promos until Jennifer came to WWE. I remember handing me a promo and I almost cried because I finally had a writer who heard my voice and gave me words that fit my character, and ever since then, me and her were like peanut butter and jelly. I work with Jennifer fairly closely, so we go back and forth with what to say. It's not people handing out scripts saying, hey, say this. It's really coming from the heart. She really helped me find my voice. But the thing is, you know, she's saying all that stuff, and now it's like, now, from what I'm hearing, though, from people who've been watching, right, I don't really watch this stuff. A lot of people are saying that actually her promo, it's digressed. Her promos are worse now in AEW. And I think maybe she's getting even more free rein to say whatever. And it's just not clicking. It's just not working at all. And yeah, I never had her down as a great promo. And one thing about her, and you know, Mercedes Mone, Sasha Banks, whatever. You know, the whole big thing is that she was a big WWE fan growing up. She had that dream. She was inspired. She was a big fan of Eddie Guerrero. And it's like, but the majority of people that get in the wrestling business are fans growing up, and they had an idol, a hero. It's like, we hear these same like stories all the time, and it gets a little bit boring after a while, because it's like, yeah, I was a huge fan growing up, right? I was a fan of The Rock, but it's like, just because I was a huge fan of The Rock and he was my hero and my idol as a kid, and like I marked out a lot of times watching his matches, it's like, that doesn't give me a right to enter the wrestling business and say, oh hey, I want to be a professional wrestler. You know, I love wrestling in general and the business, but you know, that doesn't mean all of a sudden I automatically qualify. I could be a professional wrestler. You know, I get a little bit tired of hearing those same stories, you know, from talent. And apparently she was quite hard on, you know, Alexa Bliss, because apparently she wasn't a fan of the business, and it's bullshit like that, you know. At the end of the day, are they going to pull that shit on somebody like a Brock Lesnar, you know, who doesn't really have that thing of that love for the business. You know, that a lot of that stuff is just bullshit, isn't it? But there's a clip with Eric Bischoff in his podcast. And Eric Bischoff, he's been quite critical of AEW in general and critical of this Mercedes Mone and her presentation. So I was going to play this short clip here of Eric on his podcast speaking with Conrad about Mercedes Mone.
A lot of people think this is, you know, long overdue. People are itching to see Mercedes Mone actually wrestle and not just have skits and promos and things like that. But I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised the buzz isn't bigger. You know, she was supposed to be this landmark signing for AEW, and I don't know that has necessarily been reflected in ratings yet. I think we all know how capable she is in the ring, so I'm sure it's going to be a great match. But I did kind of think there might be more buzz around her finally wrestling in AEW. What do you make of all this with Mercedes Mone and AEW and it finally happening this weekend to maybe less anticipation than we expected?
It's flat. Nobody cares. Her buzz is absolutely gone. It was self-inflicted. Poor booking, just poor decision-making from day one until now. It's horrible. AEW, and I'm going to suggest that perhaps, because I'm not there, Mercedes herself, I'm sure she had some influence over how she was going to be used. And whatever decisions were made collectively.
Data annotation,
right.
Great experience.
Just as on that point, you know, he's saying that she had influenced on how that she was used. I no doubt, you know. And if this is what we're getting, just as bullshit and just promos that mean nothing, don't feel like they come from the heart, then a lot of that probably is on her. There's a lot of responsibility there that lies with Mercedes Mone as well.
Last couple of months,
independently of each other, they've just taken all the gas out of her tank. Her appearances have been borderline horrible, bad if you're in a good mood, and marginal if you're in a good mood. And when you kill all the anticipation by overexposing her in a way that she shouldn't have ever been used. You killed her character. Nobody cares. And she'll go down on that long list of amazingly talented people with a high degree of equity with the audience, connection to the audience, value with the audience, and they end up in AEW, and within a matter of months, or Mercedes' case, almost months, it just doesn't matter. It's just another name on the card.
Well, I know that
there we go. Pretty strong words there. He's pretty blunt. It goes without saying, right? But yeah, I mean Bischoff though, you know. I mean, Bischoff tells it like it is. Bischoff has been very critical of AEW, critical of Tony Khan, and it's not just Eric Bischoff. It's Kevin Nash as well. He's been quite critical of. I think a lot of it's to do with her attire, how she's dressed, which is probably her decision. It could be her investing, buying her own wardrobe. It's a little bit of a different look from WWE, but you've got to give us something more than just her coming out in fancy outfits. You know, it's like, why do we care about her in a feud with Will Nightingale? What's the whole reason behind it? Just because they wrestled in Japan? I mean, who cares? You need like a real good story behind it. You know, if you had like her in a feud with Paige, who's now Saraya in WWE, it's like, why not just right out the bat? You know, you just have Paige come out and just beat the shit out of her, and there's a story there that it was Sasha Banks in a match that unintentionally hurt Paige, which caused her to her neck injury, break her neck, and she retired. Well, she was out of action for about 5 and a bit years. There's a story there, you know, but they missed the boat with it. Well, they might be planning that down the line, but you know, and again, you've got Paige now, Saraya. She's another one there that's floundering, right? And Ruby Soho, you could say, is another one who's floundering that came from WWE, and it's just, it's just not that good, isn't it? Really. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been critical. I've seen quite a few people have been critical of Mercedes Mone. There's Dave Meltzer, other people out there on the internet, and yeah, you know, Bischoff saying that she's just another name on the card. But you know what? A lot of that is though is that she's exposed herself. You know, because it is that thing of wrestlers who are self-promoters that they're going to make out that they're a bigger deal than what they already are. They're going to make the most noise. An old manager of mine used to say, whoever shouts loudest. That was like a catchphrase of hers. Whoever shouts loudest. And sometimes that's what it is. And it's like that with the fans as well. That vocal minority. You know, like the Cody Crybabies. That's how it is, right? People just shout and moan and cry wolf and do whatever, right? But maybe she's kind of getting exposed now. You know, maybe, yes, the booking hasn't helped. Just having a face match. No one really gives a shit. But now maybe she is just exposing herself, because that's the thing, right? It's like, not that I'm going to say she's a fake, because she has some talent, and you know, she does have a passion for this. I won't take that away from her. But it's like, when you've been kind of faking it for quite a while, and you've been able to fool people, eventually you're going to get caught out, right? You know, eventually you're going to get exposed. And this is something that, you know, it probably really did make her blood boil, I bet you, when it was Charlotte, Becky and Ronda in that feud, and she wasn't part of that. That probably is kind of what killed her, that she wasn't seen up and on that level at the time in WWE, and that she was in a tag match. And maybe there was some politics there, and maybe they just put the belts on them initially, Sasha and Bayley, to keep them happy, but then did the kind of a big fuck you and had them drop the belts at Mania to the Iconics. And that was a bad move, in fairness, because they did nothing with Iconics, right? They did nothing with them. They just had them not really wanting to fight and having matches with job people. And I guess that's the story, because, you know, they're heels. They don't want to have the proper competition. But it was just bullshit in the end, right? It was bullshit. But, you know, she's complained before. Will she complain again how she gets booked? I don't know, because maybe she's just happy now. She'll take the money. And she even said in an interview a day before she made her debut on TV that, you know, she was going to go, she'd like to go back to WWE in the end, which you could say was kind of a bit of a fuck you to Tony Khan and AEW. But I think a big mistake as well is, why didn't they get her sooner? You know, why didn't they get her just like within a few months of her leaving WWE? There's been quite a big wait now. It was almost like over a year and a half before she went, you know, we saw her in AEW. So there's been a few mistakes all around. But I just don't think she's lived up to the hype, though. And I've never been a huge fan of her. She's a little bit more better and entertaining as a heel. But I don't know if she's just quite as good as she likes to think that she is, though, in the end. But that's me for now, guys. That's my video. But feel free to like, hit the subscribe button, and give me your take. Let me know how it's gone, how you think it's been going so far with Mercedes Mone and her run in All Elite Wrestling. But that's me for now, guys. Thank you. Bye.